These are the best lenses for DSLR video, in my opinion. Now let me preface this with a little something. I am a big fan of the one-man band, the filmmaker that does it all. And we talk a lot about that in the Frono's Photo Guide to DSLR video. So these lenses in particular, I think are best suited for that solo independent filmmaker, that one-man band. Also in the guide, I stress that I'm a big fan of zoom lenses for DSLR video. To be able to get the shot, zoom in, recompose, and get your next shot, and keep it moving is the best. So all three of my personal must-haves for DSLR filmmakers are all zoom lenses. Let's take a look. So the first lens I want to talk about is the 24 to 70 2.8. And make a note that all of the lenses I'm about to show you are all fixed 2.8 apertures. They hold throughout the whole zoom. That's really important to make sure that you don't have to adjust your ISO or adjust your lighting whenever you zoom in and out. I think that's really beneficial when you're trying to keep it moving as a one-man band. This is a great mid-range zoom lens, and it was the first lens that I bought to replace my kit lens. It's a workhorse, and it's a great mid-range zoom to get you some nice wides and nice close-ups. And I would recommend this for anybody looking to invest in their first good piece of glass. Next, we have a 70 to 200, also 2.8 fixed aperture. This is a telephoto lens, and at some point you're going to want to get closer to your subject, or you might want your camera to be farther away so you can get your background a little more compressed, have a little more bokeh. And when that time comes, this is a good option. This is the second lens that I purchased, and I use it all the time. I even rented this lens quite a bit prior to purchasing it because it was such a great lens, such a great look. It's very cinematic. We used this for a movie that we shot with all DSLRs. This 70 to 200 was the majority of our shots. It just has a great look to it. It's the natural step up from the 24 to 70. Another great thing about this lens is it has image stabilization, so when you're shooting those long shots, it cuts down on any shake that might happen. Other brands of the 24 to 70 also have image stabilization, so if that's attractive to you, you might want to look at a couple other brands for that. So one thing to take note of, and something that took me a minute to wrap my head around, are the minimum focus distances on the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200 and how they differentiate. And basically the minimum focus distance is how close you can get your lens to your subject and still be able to get that subject in focus. I naturally thought that the 70 to 200 would automatically be able to get closer than the 24 to 70, and that's not the case. And I'll show you some footage here. When I was doing the shoot at FDR Skate Park, I was trying to get the skateboard in the foreground and the subject in the background and rack focus between the two. But with the 70 to 200, I just could not get what I wanted. I couldn't get it framed up. I couldn't get the composition I was looking for because I couldn't get close enough to the skateboard and retain the focus. So I changed over the 24 to 70, and boom, you can see that I was able to get the shot I was looking for, and it's a much better shot. That's really something to keep in mind, and it took me a minute to wrap my brain around it, but I think it's important to point out. So 70 to 200, highly recommend it, like it a lot. Let's move on to the next one here. And we've got this 16 to 35, again, fixed at 2.8. Just actually purchased this to complete my Triforce of zoom lenses here. Like this a lot, especially for your establishing shot, that wide shot that you want to get to establish your scene. Nothing worse than being in a small room and you just can't get the shot because you can't get wide enough. That's when you pull out a lens like this and you can get the shot. Also, I love this lens for music videos and extreme sports. Nothing better than having that big wide shot, have your subject get all close up in the camera, get a little bit of bend on the edges. Really cool look, something that I know you've seen before. You get that with a wide angle lens like this. Also, I love putting a wide angle lens on anything that's giving me camera movement. I might put it on a crane or a slider or a glide cam. It tends to reduce the shake, and it also tends to emphasize the movement and the space you're moving around. And I love using a wide angle lens with all of my camera movement. So there you have it, 16 to 35, 2.8. I love this lens. So happy that I've been able to complete my trifecta of lenses for DSLR video. Now obviously these are all Canon lenses, but Nikon has the same kind of lenses. I think on the wide angle side, the Nikon has a 14 to 24, which is a little wider, and I'm jealous of that. But there's also less expensive options out there. You could go with a Tamron or a Sigma lens and still get these zoom ranges at a fixed 2.8 aperture. And I think those are great options. So I would look into all those if you're trying to do what I've done and grab some lenses like these. One last thing I want to bring up is don't forget, you don't have to buy all these lenses at one time. You could rent these lenses for a job and try them out, see how they work within your workflow. It's a great opportunity. Don't forget, rentals are a great option. So the first question you might ask is, why not primes? Well, primes are great, and they're usually a little bit sharper, but they are quite an investment if you're trying to go from a 14 millimeter to a 200. That's going to be quite an investment to get that whole range of options at your disposal, where I can kind of get the same thing with 3 lenses here. Another thing to think about is changing lenses every time you want to get a different shot can really slow down your production, and time is money. And even forget about the money, think about your momentum. If you're interviewing a client and he's giving you everything you need, it's a wonderful interview, he's on fire, and then you're like, hold on, I got to change lenses, I got to move my camera, I got to rearrange this and that, and heaven forbid you've got a focus ring on your lens to pull focus. Then you've got to change that, and it's just a tedious operation where you're going to slow things down and you may lose momentum with your client. Something to think about, especially as a one-man band. So with all that being said, I prefer zooms. That's just me. Now, if you still want to go with the prime route and you're on a budget, that's definitely a place where you would look into renting prime lenses. All right, so that's that. But now I have some honorable mentions. Some lenses that I used quite a bit before I got these lenses. The first one I want to talk about is this 10-22 EFS lens from Canon. I absolutely love this lens. I have beat this lens to death using it on my 60D. I've had friends put this on their Red camera and gotten great results with it. It's a wonderfully wide lens. Nikon has something similar for their DX cameras as well. And if you've got a crop sensor camera, I'd really recommend this as your wide-angle lens. It is a variable aperture lens, and I believe it's 3.5 to 4.5, yeah. So you're going to have to adjust your light when you zoom in and out, but it's not so bad. Highly recommend it. Check it out if you're looking for a great wide-angle lens. The other thing that folks talk about, a 50 millimeter, the nifty 50, maybe the 1.4 or the 1.8. I'm actually using that to shoot this right now because I've obviously got my go-to lenses here on the desk, and I don't have multiples of them because I don't have it like that. So 50 millimeter, the nifty 50, it's a great little lens. It's sharp, great in low light, and it's got that shallow depth of field. What else could you ask for? The one thing to note, especially if you're shooting at 1.4, is that it's best suited for a stationary subject. Pulling focus at 1.4 or 1.8 can be difficult. And the one thing about the 50 that kind of led me to not use it as much is that I would have to keep moving the camera for different coverage. To get a wide, I'd have to pull back. To get a close-up, I'd have to push in. So while it's a great little lens, it's those things that made me tend to gravitate towards zoom lenses more often than not. And that brings me to my last honorable mention, and that is the almighty kit lens. This is my EFS 18-135 that I had on my 60D, and I use this thing all the time. Great little lens. The one thing to make note is that they're basically jack of all trades, master of none. They do a lot of things pretty good. This is a 18-135, so that's a pretty good range, but it's a little less sharp than some of these more expensive models. Also, this is a variable aperture. This is 3.5 to 5.6, and anytime I would zoom in or out with this lens, I would have to adjust my light. But if you're like me when I started, and a kit lens is your only lens, no worries, you can get some great video from this lens, especially outdoors. So, do not hang your head in shame. Shoot with pride. You will get great video out of a kit lens. So there you have it. Those are the best lenses for DSLR video, in my opinion. 24-70, 70-200, 16-35, all at 2.8. And I highly recommend these for the independent filmmaker who operates as a one-man band like I do quite often as well. So let me know what you think the best lenses are for DSLR video. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think. And if you are interested in DSLR video and editing, we talk a lot about that here on this channel, so hit the subscribe button and stay in the loop. Talk to you soon. Hey, if you are an aspiring DSLR filmmaker, be sure to check out the Fronos Photo Guide to DSLR Video. I teamed up with Jared Poland from Fronos Photo to put together a 6-hour comprehensive video guide on using your DSLR camera for video. We cover all the basics, all the fundamentals. We also take you out onto 4 real-world video shoots and show you how it's all put into practice. It's very cool, and it might be what you're looking for. If it sounds like something you're interested in, click the link and check it out for yourself. Thanks.